Alright, today in the menu we have Carnotaurus, the meat-eating bull that was reduced to a small game hunter, but actually ended up being hunted by the small game instead. If there's a dinosaur I feel sorry for in the current patch, it would definitely be this one and Maya. I often catch people having a misconception on it being good due to the infinite charging, but it is actually really suffering versus almost anything on the roster. And unless you're fighting some new players on a Raptor or a Trudon or even on a Packy, you're just not going to be having a great time. Gonna be splitting the video into 3 sections again, what I think devs intended it to be, the issue, and of course following up with the solution. This one is a bit longer than usual, so yeah, let's get into it. What I think devs intended it to be. I think devs have intended for Carno to be an ambush predator, with the capacity to chase things down after a successful knockover and then delivering a lethal blow afterwards. The changes to the knockover also hint that they do not want the Carno to be a brawler dinosaur that can do this in close quarters. However, in the current iteration, a lot of issues arise, and this is why. The issue. Many issues with Carnotaurus. One of the main issues is that by making the charge spammable, a lot of Carnos end up brawling in close quarters as opposed to doing the ambushing. Another one is since ambushing has been made absolutely impossible due to being able to hear its footsteps from 50 meters away, and I'm not over exaggerating. Often I hear one running, I think it's like 10 meters around me, and then I see it barely on the horizon at the other side of a field. I don't think this much sound benefits an ambush predator, and I also think having to charge for 50 meters before you can do a knockover makes ambushing pretty much impossible and pulls players more into the brawl playstyle, where they just spam it over and over for chip damage. And although it is possible to get results on Carno, you will quickly run into its limitations. Another issue is the charge hitbox. It seems to be too wide. Over the last few patches I've been noticing that the Carno ramp got more and more generous on if it lands or not, and I personally am not a huge fan of any hitbox bloating. I'm actually not quite sure if it got bloated or if the desync just became stronger on a Carno ramp or even if there is some massive lag correction at play, but I do know that it's not fun to play against since recently and it feels like a band-aid and not really a true fix. Also, for a dinosaur who has speed as its main tool, they are too strongly affected by bleed damage, as they are quickly once again pushed into fighting in close quarters, as running away would just make them bleed out quite fast. It's also the only dinosaur that can hurt itself by using its ability, and I'm ignoring the fact that a Herrera can jump from too high, that's just something else, but although it's still better than Raptor or Trudon, who can straight up kill themselves by using their ability, this is still a bit too much, especially on tail tips and heads, and I have an interesting idea for this that could fix it in a mathematically way, and it would solve it entirely. Also think its run cost is a bit on the high side, as it can get run down by a lot of things stamina wise, and often has to sit down within tracking range, and it cannot really retreat properly from a fight. So those are the issues I'm seeing so far. Let's get into the solution. Alright guys, to really fix Carno, a collection of fixes are required to put it back in place so that it could function as originally intended as an ambush predator, so bear with me, it's quite a list. I have heard people say reverted, but I'm pretty sure the devs do not want to revert it, so I'm going to try a different approach that is more in touch with an ambush predator and what we currently have already. So if you were hoping I'd suggest to revert, I am not going to do that, I'm very sorry. However, stay tuned to hear what I'm gonna do instead, what I would do instead. Alright, let's get into the solution I have thought up so far. First on the list, I think the charge should get its charge block back. The little charge meter below the stamina bar, you know, and with a cooldown of 10 seconds. Not the old 20 seconds cooldown, that was way too much, because spammable ramp takes away a lot of skill from the dino, and you essentially just spam to win, especially with the other fixes I'm about to suggest, it would not play well. Second on the list, I think that ambushing should be its main thing, and I strongly suggest lowering the sound their footsteps make, so you cannot hear a Carno too easily or at all. Make them more stealthy, yeah? Make them more ninja. Now, also the charge should provide a knockover as soon as the Carno reaches its max potential speed, but potential speed, meaning you are not being slowed down by a bounce or any other factors. Also make the wind up to go from a 0 to 100 around 3 seconds when you begin a charge. Also, the knockover should be capable to knock over targets up to 150% of the Carno's current weight. So if you are 1.3 tons, you should be able to knock over targets up to around almost 2 tons, like 1950 kilograms if I'm not mistaken. Charge cost should remain the same as it is today. I don't think the Carno needs to be punished for using its only ability. That said, I would decrease the charge hitbox, and if it's the lag correction that bloats it currently, I would just straight up remove that. It is way too oppressive otherwise, and it's so unfun to play against. Also, assuming that Carno currently has no extra bleed resist, so assuming the value currently is 100%, I would like to buff their resist to 150% so that they can handle bleed somewhat better and can still somewhat run depending on how much bleed was inflicted upon them. Here's the interesting one, the mathematically one, regarding the self-stun. I had an idea for it that could solve it mathematically, meaning that it would automatically make sense depending on what you are fighting. I think the self-stun should only occur on body hits on targets that exceed 150% of the Carno's weight, meaning it should only be able to ram heads and tails without taking the self-stun damage. And we can even balance that with saying, okay, you're allowed to do that on targets up to 400% of the Carno's weight to create a cap on it. You know, for apexes, rex, all that. And additionally, yeah, you are only able to do this on heads that exceed a damage multiplier of 1 or higher. This would balance it against ceratopsians who use their head defensively and have a lower value, like for example Tibble has 0.25, as their damage multiplier is just below 1. That one was a mouthful, and I really hope you were able to follow all that. Additionally, there's more. I would also like to keep charge run cost exactly as it is, but I want to decrease its normal run cost by like 10%, as it can, so that it can truly use its speed to its advantage. So it does not get run down trying to survive a situation that is impossible to win, like for example a massive dialogue pack, as they will currently just catch a Carno and obliterate it. Honestly, I think if we put all of this together, you know, grab some duct tape and all these fixes in one bundle, I think we can demotivate people from brawling, motivate them into ambush gameplay, balance the charge, the Carno's stats, and the usability of its ability would be more technical, so that would also reward more skillful play. Yeah, that is it. Managed to wrap it up within 10 minutes, Jesus. As always, if you have ideas, think I'm wrong, have a better idea, leave a comment down below. And let's try to stay normal and friendly towards one another in a constructive manner. And yeah, I wish you guys a nice day.